Hey guys, welcome back to Crime Time with Jess. Before we get into the stream, I would like to prefix it with this. Let me put this truck up here. Just want you guys to see what this is about. So, before we get into this live stream, I would like to prefix it with this. A few weeks ago, a friend and I were having a conversation about how much harder it is for serial killers to go about killing in the way they used to. The likes of Ted Bundy and John Wayne Gacy, because of forensic data and DNA. Forensic data and DNA have helped convict so many people. And forensic data, for those of you who don't know, is digital data from phones, laptops, etc. We've seen multiple cases where people have been convicted with forensic data. James Brenner was caught on Dylan Rounds' phone with blood on him and cleaning a gun. He will be sentenced on July 1st of this year. We saw Alec Murdaugh's entire alibi blown out of the water with a 50-second Snapchat video that one of his victims took right before the murders. He is now serving life without parole. We saw tons of forensic data from Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow used to convict them. Chad is now on death row, as you all know, and Lori serving life without parole. This knowledge led my friend and I to wonder how people would try to get away with the quote-unquote perfect murder. I began to speculate that long-haul truck drivers were in a prime position to get away with the quote-unquote perfect murder. Given their transient lifestyles, constantly coming into contact with perfect strangers and crossing multiple state lines, this thought actually occurred to me last year when we drove from Delaware all the way to Oklahoma. We went through the entire state of Tennessee, and while I was driving and Tyler asleep, I noticed nothing but long, dark stretches of highway with nothing around but truck drivers. I would see them parked on the desolate highways and wonder how scary their job was. I noticed the same thing when we recently drove from Oklahoma to Wyoming. A few short weeks later, I came across the post on Twitter about long-haul truck drivers, and it shocked me, although it shouldn't have. I want to share that post with you guys now. Get back on my right screen here. Hi, Glory. How are ya? Long time no talk, Lauren Dellen. Oh, where the heck is that? Okay, so this is the post, and I'll say this: if you don't like Jennifer Coffendorfer, that's fine. You're not required to. I'm not really interested in her. I'm just more interested in this post that I saw from her. So she wrote this quote: "The FBI's Highway Serial Killings Initiative, also known as HSK, estimates that between 400 and 500 truckers could be implicated in a huge number of murders over the past 35 years." Unquote. It is so very scary to think of these mobile torture chambers and how many victims have been taken. Please be vigilant and don't be alone if you go to a rest stop. I highly recommend a gas station or fast food restaurant to avoid a possible dangerous situation. And then she referenced a book called Long Haul: Hunting the Highway Serial Killers. So I dug deeper. This caught my eye, obviously, because of everything I just said to you, but also because I just had no idea that an initiative like this existed. So I dug more into it, and in 2004, the FBI saw a pattern of unsolved murders along American roadways. Uh, Today, at least 850 homicides have been linked to long-haul truck drivers. Now, I want to be careful here because out of the 400 to 500 suspected long-haul truck drivers. There are actually 4 million truck drivers in the U.S. So while 400 to 500 seems an astounding number, it is actually a very small percentage, but nonetheless alarming. A man named Frank Figliuzzi wrote a book about this, which Jennifer Coffendorfer here references, called Long Haul. And I would like to bring that up for you guys. I'm going to show you the book, what it looks like, and then I want to talk a little bit about him and the journey that he went on with this. So you're seeing all the screenshots that I'm going to show you eventually. Or maybe not. Where the heck is that? Hang on just a sec. Not that picture, not that picture. So much. So, well, this is Frank. This is him. He was actually a assistant FBI director for counterintelligence. Okay. So he heard about this initiative and he got very interested. So he actually went on the road. I'm going to have to bring out my email to show what I want to show here. So welcome to my email. But hang on just a sec. So here's his book. And that's the look of it, called Long Haul. So he actually decided that he was going to really study this. So he went on the road with a long haul truck driver and thousands of miles. He wanted to see what the lifestyle was. And what he found was, extremely, extremely interesting. There is so much to be said about him, and I could really go into a lot here. Maybe I will. Maybe I probably should. Just give me a second. There's so much information with this, and it's all over my phone. So I've been wanting to do this live stream, just so you guys know, for a week or more, probably. So I've been talking about it nonstop, and I just haven't quite had the time to do it, or other things have come up, etc., etc. But, well, I'll just have to go from memory. So yeah, he logged thousands and thousands of hours, slept in the cab, got to see their transient lifestyle up close and personal. And something that he noticed was, we've all heard the term lot lizard. If you have not, they are women that tend to hang around truck stops and things, and they are women of the night. They get into the cab, they get paid, they do their thing. But with technology, once again, he said that he came across very few, if any, lot lizards, because now these transactions are being done online, which is quite interesting. But yeah, so, and that was something that I also noticed, was that I saw 0 lot lizards. I didn't see one. But these murders continue to happen. So hang on, give me just a second, you guys. Yes, Angelo. The Green River Killer in Washington. Yes, you are correct. So let me go back to this. Now, there was a particular case that stood out to me, and that was of a still unidentified woman they dubbed Bitter Creek Betty. Okay, and I'm going to show you guys a picture of Bitter Creek Betty. And this picture that I'm going to show you, if you have a weak stomach or something like this may disturb you. I mean, you guys are true crime followers, so I would assume not. But this picture is her actual, she is dead. This is how they found her. So I don't think the picture shows too much, but her face was actually pretty bruised. And I'm going to tell you guys how she was murdered, which is pretty gruesome. Hang on just a second. So this woman was found off of Interstate 80. Okay. Now, the reason that I took a particular interest to her is because as I sit here, I am staring at I-80. I-80 runs from the East Coast. If you get on it in New Jersey, you can take it all the way to California. So it is one of the highways that is the most used in the entire country. So let me see. I should have a screenshot of that as well. Or actually, it's probably on my email. So there was, like, when you look close, you can see some markings around her lips and all of that. But they couldn't identify her, so they did dub her Bitter Creek Betty. Her nude body was lying face down in the snow. Now, if you know anything about Wyoming, the winters are brutal. 40-mile-an-hour winds. You could have 40 feet snow drifts. And around November, I-80 gets shut down because you just simply can't drive on it. The wind here can get so bad that you'll just see semis literally falling over on the highway. The wind just knocks them straight over. So it's pretty crazy. But her body appeared as if it had been dropped out of a truck and came to rest, at the bottom of a slope. Investigators theorized the victim was probably killed elsewhere and dumped near the westbound side of the highway between October 1991 and February of 1992. So a female truck driver had pulled over on the side of the road, and she was refilling or changing out her gas tanks, checking her gas and all of that. She saw what she thought was like a bag of trash, but the shape of it just didn't quite look right to her. So she went down the embankment a little bit to get a little bit closer look, and she saw Bitter Creek Betty face down naked in the snow. Now, she CB'd for, other truck drivers' help. They ended up, calling the police, and that's how she was found. So the cause of death for her, and this is pretty gruesome, was listed as an ice pick or similar object inserted in her left nostril, penetrating her sphenoid bone. Examiners also found signs of strangulation, beating, trauma to the face and jaw, as well as anal and vaginal sexual assault. The sophistication of the killing points to the possible involvement of a serial offender, despite that this theory was initially rejected. Detectives determined the killer's blood type was O. So now Bitter Creek Betty had some identifying things. Even though she was naked, her jewelry was still found on her. A particular ring that was found. Let's see, I gotta find that screenshot now. So this doesn't show her ring, but the ring was pretty unique. And then this tattoo. She had a rose tattoo on her upper right breast. Okay, so the police put out this composite sketch of her. They originally thought that she was Native American. It turns out that she was actually from South America. So white and South American is what I believe she was. About 5'8", tall and slender, dark brown hair, and dark brown eyes. So this tattoo, they put out to the public, hoping that somebody would, recognize it. Well, a man in Tucson, Arizona, contacted police, and he had told them that he was the one that gave her this tattoo. He remembered her, but he could not remember her name. So they actually put him under hypnosis. And what he did remember about her was that she was well-spoken and seemed to be very intelligent, but also a transient. So hopping states and such. Now, Bitter Creek Betty had a cesarean scar, meaning that she, most likely had a child or did have a child. And her estimated, she was estimated to be between the ages of 24 to 32 years old. Now, interestingly enough, in 2022, Bitter Creek Betty was taken off of NamUs. Now, if you guys don't know what NamUs is, it's for missing persons, and she was taken off of this list. There are people that claim that she has actually been identified as Irene Vasquez. There has never been a press release to confirm this, but from what I understand, as long as the family is notified, they can request not to have it, made a public announcement. And so that very well could have happened. But with Bitter Creek Betty, she's not the only one, okay? Because we're going to get to this long-haul truck driver serial killer named Clark Perry. Hang on a second. Lots of screenshots, guys. Lots of screenshots. And here was somebody's post here. Okay. So he said, while we're waiting for the Ario Grande news, here's a warm-up announcement. Bitter Creek Betty identified. No other details or news of any scheduled announcement have been provided. And like I said, they were saying that her name was Irene Vasquez, but there is just no evidence from law enforcement that is actually true. So with Bitter Creek Betty, we have another victim. So here's Bitter Creek Betty, and this woman here has been dubbed I-90 Jane Doe, also known as Sheridan Jane Doe. These two women were found approximately 400 miles apart. Okay. Now, I-90 Jane Doe here, she is still yet to be identified as well, but also, just like Bitter Creek Betty, she has been taken off of NamUs. Now, I-90 Jane Doe was actually 2 months pregnant when she was murdered. And weirdly, she was found with her clothes still on, but she was sexually assaulted. Now, these two women, there was DNA collected from both of them. Ironically, their killer has been identified. He sits in a jail as we speak in Tennessee. But these two women have, to this day, have never publicly been identified. So very strange how DNA works. And the reason, hang on a second. So I'm going to show you their killer, or alleged killer. This is him. His name is Clark Perry Baldwin, and he's from Waterloo, Iowa. For most of his career, he was a long-haul truck driver. He has an ex-wife. Now, he bragged to his ex-wife years before he was ever arrested for any of this. He bragged to her and laughingly said that he threw a woman out of his truck, that he had raped her and threw her out, and he laughed about it. Now, after they got a divorce, she went to police and told. But, she wasn't really taken seriously because we all know that there are scorned lovers out there and things like that. So she wasn't taken seriously. But who he was talking about was either Bitter Creek Betty or I-90 Jane Doe. Now, this man is suspected of 5 murders across the country, but he is being charged with three murders. The first one being Pamela McCall. Pamela McCall, he murdered in Tennessee. And I'm trying to get to her picture here. If you will just bear with me. There's a lot of screenshots and stuff to go through. So just give me a second and I will bring up Miss McCall. Nope, not her. Well, hang on just a sec, guys. My apologies. No, that wasn't that. You guys get to see all my my stuff here. Which I don't care. It doesn't bother me. This was all stuff I sent myself last night. And actually, this might. Okay, so we're actually going to read this. This is Pamela McCall here. Okay, and Springville, Tennessee. Nearly 3 decades after a pregnant woman was murdered. Now, just let's put this together. Okay, so I-90 Jane Doe, 2 months pregnant. Pamela McCall, I believe she was roughly around 4 months pregnant. He murdered both of them. And then Bitter Creek Betty had a cesarean scar. So, she had a child. So I don't know if he had an affinity for pregnant women, which is extra creepy, but who knows? So nearly 3 decades after a pregnant woman was murdered in Dumpton, Tennessee, an Iowa truck driver accused of killing her and at least 2 other women has been arrested. Investigators in multiple states are now working to determine if the suspect, 58-year-old Clark Perry Baldwin, was behind any of the cold case killings in their jurisdictions. Marcia Lau still remembers the day in March 1991 when she learned her daughter, Pamela McCall, had been found dead in Spring Hill. She was 7 months I stand corrected. I thought she was 4. She was 7 months pregnant when he killed her. That is especially disturbing. He is being charged with the murder of her child as well. That is very disturbing. He set her up after he killed her on a little knoll. He was proud of what he did. Yes, he displayed his victims like other serial killers we know. The family lived in Virginia, but Lau said McCall was known to hitchhike. No matter where she was, every day she'd call me and she'd say, "Hey, Mom, somebody loves you. It's me." "I haven't gotten those calls no more," Lau said through tears. With few leads in the death of her daughter, Lau chose to bury her under a different name in the hopes the killer would never be able to find her. "Every time I went to her grave, I always asked God, why? Please, God, let me find her killer so I can put her to rest." 29 years later, Baldwin has been charged with murder for McCall's death and the death of her unborn child, according to authorities in Tennessee. He was arrested Wednesday. Now, this post was back in 2020, okay? So he was arrested Wednesday in Waterloo, Iowa. I thank God, so he can't kill no more. He's done a lot to a lot of families, Lau said. She added, he's nothing. He's a pervert from hell. He's just like the devil. I don't know how many women he killed, but all these years, I said once they've killed, they don't stop. Baldwin, who appeared in court Thursday in Iowa, has also been charged with the death of 2 unidentified women in Wyoming in the spring of 1992. The 2 victims are only known as Bitter Creek Betty and I-90 Jane Doe. So that's something there. But I really wanted to show a more up-close picture of her. And this is her. So this is Pamela. And it says Pamela Rose Aldred McCall, who was born in Cedar Rapids but lived in Virginia, shown in an undated family photo. McCall and her unborn daughter were killed in Tennessee in 1991. After nearly 30 years, her alleged murderer was arrested Wednesday in Waterloo, Iowa, thanks to DNA evidence. Now, let me tell you guys how they found him through DNA, because he had left DNA behind on all 3 of these women, okay? And through 23andMe and Ancestry.com, those types of, databases that you can submit your DNA to, they found a relative of his that had done just that, and they narrowed it down to him, and an FBI agent actually followed him, collected some of his trash, and got DNA off of a Walmart cart that he was pushing. And it was a match to Bitter Creek Betty, I-90 Jane Doe, and Pamela McCall. So he does not have a trial date set yet that I am aware of. He is in a Tennessee jail on a $1 million bond. Now, the issue that I have with it, I understand that, we're talking about multiple states and murders and stuff like that. So things get a little complex. But he's 63 now, I believe. So, you never know when your clock's going to stop ticking. I would like to at least see him, be convicted of these murders. And also, I would like to see these women publicly identified, even though if their families know who they are, that's good enough. I guess we don't have to know. Yes, Glory, 7 months pregnant is very hard to overlook. And Glorindellin is saying a Walmart shopping cart is new. Usually it's all food or drink. Yeah, I thought the same thing. I didn't check the court. No, I was going to call, Tennessee, the court in Tennessee, and find out kind of where they're at with his trial, what stage they're in with it, to see if we have a date. But at first, they didn't know if they were going to try him in Tennessee first or if they were going to try him in Wyoming. Now, but I believe he's going to be tried in Tennessee first. But again, do not quote me on that because there's not a lot of information. Okay. So, but if he is tried in Wyoming, Wyoming has the death penalty. So, I'm just hoping that he is actually tried in Wyoming first, although I feel like he's going to be tried in Tennessee. Either way, I don't think this man is ever going to see the light of day again, which is a very good thing because these types of people are just, they shouldn't be out in the public. And I should tell you guys that this guy had actually he was caught years before he did this to these women. He had held a woman in Texas at gunpoint and raped her. And she reported it to the police. There was a grand jury that was convened. And ultimately it was just dropped. Nothing happened after that. He got away with that. If Texas, which is very surprising because Texas really doesn't play. So I'm really surprised that Texas didn't do anything about it. But if he had been stopped then and, lost his truck driver's license or things like that, we may have never, seen any of these killings. And again, even though he's only being charged with these 3 murders, well, 4 with the baby, but he is suspected of more than that. So this guy is a real monster. Glorin Dellon is saying, a friend in Wyoming's son found out his wife was sleeping with another guy. So he went to the house and killed the guy. Tried to kill her too. He got a stiff sentence short of life. Well, I'm surprised he didn't get the death penalty for that one. He appealed the sentence and got sentenced to a longer term in prison. Broke his father's heart and he died a few, I think he meant a few years later. But yeah, I'm trying to find, there's something else that I really want to show you guys or tell you guys about with this guy. Because him getting away with that in Texas just really, really bothers me. Because again, we probably wouldn't be looking at any of this if he had been stopped then. Oh, and back to the long haul author. Hang on a second. No. I want to put their pictures up for as long as possible. Again, Bitter Creek Betty here on the left, I-90 Jane Doe. But the guy that wrote Long Haul, the book about serial killers, long haul truck drivers, serial killers, he said that unfortunately there are trucking companies that openly advertise as second chance, jobs. So truck drivers have to go through a yearly exam. They have to pass that exam to be able to be on the road. We all know that, driving for long distances, you can get what's called the 1,000-mile stare, which happens often with truck drivers. And it's just kind of where they just zone out and they're just in this zone, but they want to stop, but they have a deadline. They have to be at this place and dropping, these goods off so they don't stop. They keep going, which is unfortunate. But, lost my train of thought there. That happens sometimes. Sorry. Live streams can do that to you. I have so much information rolling around in my head that I'll go to say one thing and something else will pop out. But yeah, he was talking about how it's unfortunate that there are these trucking companies that will advertise to truck drivers that have lost their ability to be a truck driver, and they will, lower things. Oh, you don't need this, you don't need that. We'll just give you a job. Well, that's not a good thing. There's also doctors that advertise, $100, I'll give you a clean exam so you can continue trucking, even though they're not fit to do so. So what the FBI agent that wrote that long haul book said, he was like, two things really need to happen. The second chance companies need to stop. And he said, that outreach programs need to be implicated for women that are, he said, if you go up to a woman that is selling her body and you ask her, what do you need? He was like, you often hear, I need rent money, or I need formula, or I need help, I need diapers, or whatever. He said, if we could have more community outreach to help these women, they would be less inclined to sell themselves or hang around truck stops or things like that. All three of Clark Perry Baldwin's victims were either seen at a truck stop or near a truck stop, and that was the last time that they were ever saw. So he is definitely not the only long haul truck driver serial killer. He's just the one I wanted to highlight, being that I now live in Wyoming. I live about 3 hours from where Bitter Creek Betty was found, and significantly farther away from where I-90 Jane Doe was found. But yes, this is my presentation. Mundane Monday. Well, you're an asshole. So you can go. Bye. So I'll just remove that person since I'm so mundane. Nobody's asking you to be here. You don't have to be on the live stream. Okay. But anyway, I hope you guys got something out of this. And, just like Coffindorfer's thing said, if you are traveling, cross country and stuff like that, just be very careful. You do come in contact with tons and tons of strangers. Tyler and I had stopped at 2, they weren't truck rest stops, but they were called something like Travel City, and there would be a ton of truckers there, but there would also be other people, gas station, they would have a Burger King inside of it and things like that. But I mean, my concern was always with Aubrey. I would just be clenching her hands because it takes 2 seconds for somebody to snatch her child. And there's so many people just everywhere walking around and this and that. She would just be gone. So it's always highly on alert. And I think that's just my true crime mind. But Tyler, he'd be like, oh, you're being a little dramatic. And I'd be like, no, you don't understand. You have no idea the evil that is in this world. I see it every day. I read about it every day. I look at it every day. So I know. Hi, Angela. How are you? Yes. And Glorindellen is saying most truckers are fine, but you never know if the one you run into is one of the weirdos. Yeah, exactly. And, let's just look at this guy's picture again, because I said to Tyler, I said, I want you to look at this. If you pass this guy, just say you're just walking at a rest stop, he looks a little scruffy, he's got a beard, but his eyes don't even look too evil to me. If I walk past this guy, I wouldn't think anything. I would just think, he's an older guy, just an older truck driver. That's all I would think. It would not cross my mind. This guy has multiple murders under his belt and seems to have some weird affinity for killing pregnant women in particular. But it just wouldn't cross your mind. So you just always have to be vigilant. Let's see here. He does look a bit like Brenner. I thought that too, Glorindellen. Angelo, thanks for the update. Very informative, as usual. You're welcome, Angelo. And feel free to do some searching yourself, because there is another one. There's another serial killer truck driver that I wanted to talk about. Maybe I could do that at a different time, but he's interesting because he had a whole family. He had a wife. He had 2 daughters. Sort of like BTK. Just had the appearance of a normal guy, and he was killing women left and right, and just had no remorse for it. And he was so reckless and so confident that he just left their blood inside his cab on his mattress. So when they did find him, and they did find him, he is in jail. But when they searched his truck, they were just kind of astounded that he didn't even attempt to clean up anything. He just literally left their blood on his mattress, slept there, didn't even care. So it was very very disturbing. But I do think it's weird how much he looks like Brenner Glory. You know, which I think oh, hang on. Abby Normal. And Angelo's definitely agreeing with you there. Yep. So Andrew. Hi Andrew, how are you? Hi Jessica. However, you like bad people, right? Yeah, you are the one who has started writing love letters to Brenner. Yeah. Um, I've never written a love letter to Brenner a day in my life. So, if you guys would like to see my stream with the letters that I have received from James Brenner, it is up on my channel. You can go to my community post and you can decide for yourself. Andrew, unfortunate that you feel that way. And I think that's a very strange comment from you, being that I didn't read out my letters to Brenner. And what I mostly talked to Brenner about was God, if you must know. Nothing to do with love or anything of that nature. But I don't expect someone with your type of brain to understand that. So, Glorindella, the camera at the way stations are very powerful. My ex told me that it could read the label of the coat I had set aside. Wow, that is very powerful. I did not know that. Very interesting, Glory. There is a lot to dig into with the long haul truck drivers, most certainly. And because of that dude, whoever that guy was, never seen in my chat before, because of his ridiculous comment, I think I'm going to repost on my community tab the James Brenner letters, so that you guys that have not seen that, you can go ahead and take a look for yourself. Oh, that was 20 years ago. Okay. All right. Well, that's all I have for you guys. And I guess we will talk later on my next live stream. So bye for now, guys.